is Thursday, May 27th, and we are live with the Morning Man. We're very, very excited today. We've got some very special guests. We've got Natalie Miniard, who is a very experienced agent with us here in our New Jersey office. Really excited to be. Hey, Natalie, how are you?
Hey, good morning.
Let me just get Paul in here. So we have the third part of the party. Very, very excited to be talking with you and Paul today about New Jersey and everything going on, talking about the Garden State right before Memorial Day weekend.
There you go. Big weekend.
Hey, Paul, how are you?
Hey, guys, I'm good. How are you?
Good morning. So let's kick it off. Natalie, I heard that a Volkswagen executive just sold his house in Hoboken for a record price.
Yes, but I think Paul has those numbers. Were you gonna that? I think that was
Paul, $5.25 million. Can you believe
5.25 million cash. It was it's definitely a record. I think it's a record for Hoboken. Definitely, in that location, it was on Grand Street, which, I mean, it's not a bad location, but usually those kind of numbers are, on Hudson or Garden or Bloomfield, a little bit closer to the pass station. So this was a little bit further from the pass station, but it's a beautiful property. It had its own parking garage, had multiple outdoor spaces.
Wow.
Apparently it was a $2.5 million renovation. So it was a really, really nice property.
Wow. We will not make any jokes about the emissions scandal for Volkswagen exec. Natalie, I heard that there's also a new park coming to Hoboken.
Yes, and it's actually really exciting. It's in the southwest side. They're doing a temporary pop-up park while they put the whole big plan together. They took over the city actually after a lot of back and forth and a lot of concessions. They bought the land from the Academy Bus Company. It's where they would have all their buses held.
Yeah.
And for $11 million. And they are expanding the green space there. There's going to be basketball courts, picnic tables, hopscotch, pickleback court. Do you guys
Pickleball? Yeah, no.
Pickleball, yeah.
People love pickleball.
I had no idea what it was. I had to look it up. Okay, so pickleball.
It's like a less intense version of tennis.
That's what I watched videos. I now am an expert on it. I can't wait for it to open. What's really cool is that when they finish the full project, when they do the big project, there's actually going to be a water retention system involved, which is kind of what we even talked about last week.
Right.
The big project that's going on in Hoboken to help with that. So that'll be cool. And I'm particularly excited because I live up in Jersey City Heights, which is the cliff that kind of overlooks Hoboken. So I can walk to this in about a minute. So even though I'm not in Hoboken, I think it's going to actually be really nice for the rest of us, even up in the Heights and other areas. So
that
really
sounds
cool.
Awesome. And I heard there's also a mega project near the Holland Tunnel that's been in the news recently as well.
Yeah. It got approved back in 2017, but obviously the world went a little nuts, so they wanted to extend it, their approvals. So the owners of the property actually have asked for an extension, so we don't know if they're going to get it or not. But I take it as a really nice sign that we're seeing things still moving. It's going to be 2 towers, 57 and 59 about stories. It's about 750 units. Bunch of parking, some commercial, and a big part of why they're asking for the extension is they want to make it, right now it's literally between the in and out of the Holland Tunnel, so it's not really a very pedestrian friendly location, and they really want to link more to like the Hamilton Park and Newport and make it a little bit more pedestrian friendly, and they need to kind of rework their plans a little bit. So I think it's pretty exciting. The building that's there now is a huge warehouse, and it actually has the largest mural in Jersey City. Yeah, so, and we can talk about that a little bit later, but that's a big push. If you drive around Jersey City, we have some of the most gorgeous murals throughout the town, all throughout Jersey City.
So have they been
really
able to preserve any of those murals as they've sought to put up new buildings there, or is it sort of like a Banksy, meant to disappear at some point?
I don't want to speak too much. What I believe is that a lot of these developers will do what you want with it until, we build. And so it's kind of a give back to the community until we're ready to build. Yeah. And sometimes they'll even throw in, money towards them. We have one on the side building because we butt up against a parking lot. And so we in conjunction, we paid for some of it. We brought in this artist, this very famous artist that did it. A third of it was paid by the city, a third of it was paid by a museum that was kind of sponsoring it, and it was just a really cool community project. So they're all throughout Jersey City. Yeah.
What a cool initiative. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little about the market. In Hoboken right now, we're seeing an average of about 45 days on the market. So that's quick.
Yeah, things are moving. I mean, we're definitely seeing, you know, we typically try to get offers. You know, we kind of know that the stats with sellers when we're kind of talking to before we're listing the property, that it's pretty important to get something. The psychology of it is to get something in a contract within about 30 days. And so that would make sense that after your attorney review and getting everything negotiated, you know, about 45 days average makes sense to me.
Yeah, and we're seeing, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but there are like subsets of the market, right? So like there's some stuff that's sitting. Like it really depends on how things are priced. They're bidding wars, but then there's also price reduction. So it's not a one size fits all. At least in Hudson County, pricing right is still definitely very, very important.
Yeah, what the property is, where it is, absolutely. Yeah, the 45-day average. So
yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, that's probably, you know, pricing it right is important everywhere and always, in a way. Something I want to talk about and touch on, you know, so in Hoboken we've seen 400 closed sales this month. I think it was down a little bit from April, but April I believe this was a record. Something I want to touch on is in this market, which is obviously so competitive right now, and people are bidding these properties up to record prices. What is going on with appraisals? How is that working? I'm really curious to hear, you know, your perspective on how appraisal contingencies are working and what happens if a house isn't appraising.
So to Paul's point, it is very case by case. It is where, it is what you have, it is where you're priced at already. We're seeing, you know, a lot of different scenarios in Hudson County. Again, it depends. I don't know that we're seeing quite the bidding wars on maybe the smaller homes. The bigger stuff we are. We're seeing buyers decide to waive. I know it's happening out in the suburbs. I don't know if we're seeing it quite as much here in Hudson County, but where they're just waiving appraisals completely. I mean, there's a lot of cash out there. A lot of people are not having to even worry about whether it's going to appraise or not. I think that's a little less likely. What I see more, and Paul can comment too, is that sometimes people will be willing to waive a portion of the appraised value. So if a buyer comes in, the property is listed at 1 million, but they want to be competitive, so they offer $1.05 million. They say, look, as long as it appraises for $1 million, we'll go to the closing with an extra 50,000. Because what would happen is most people put a mortgage contingency in their contract. Again, that also could be removed. This is all a negotiation, why you need a good realtor to help you with the process. But if you have your mortgage contingency, a mortgage is obviously contingent on the appraisal. And so if you get to the appraisal and the home doesn't appraise, there's an out for that buyer. So either there's a lot of scenarios that could happen here, and it depends on who's got maybe the more leverage, but you could negotiate. You could say, hey, it didn't appraise, I'm only paying $1 million, I'm not doing it. The seller could say, take a hike, I'll put it back on the market. The market's gone up by 10% since you put it in, see you, bye. They can meet in the middle, you know.
So that's interesting. You know, you could basically say, hey, you know, I'm going to put an offer in over at $1.05 million, but I could say that, you know, my appraisal contingency is only up to $1 million, so it backstops the extra amount that I have to put in, while still giving the seller some amount of comfort that we think it's going to appraise. Now, Paul, what are you seeing recently? Have you seen appraisals come to the price of the deal, or are you seeing appraisals haven't really caught up yet? I know sometimes when markets are moving up a significant amount, sometimes you have issues where the banks really aren't appraising at the prices that the deals are happening.
I haven't had too many issues with appraisal this year recently. I mean, a couple of years back in Jersey City, 2017, when the market was crazy and there were bidding wars and things were going way over the asking price. I had more issues then, but now things are selling for asking price, maybe a little bit above. So there's not as many, like there are comps to support the sales price for pretty much everything that I've sold. I mean, other realtors might have a different experience, but I haven't had too many issues with appraisal. A lot of the times appraisers tend to work backwards. So they'll see what the sales price is and then they'll find comps to support it. Just being honest. So like a lot of times
that's how it works.
Properties appraised for what the offer price is. It's not like they're looking at comps first and then
right. They rarely appraise over.
Yeah, rarely appraises over. I just had something that appraised for almost 50K over. I was shocked.
50K over the contract.
50K
price.
over the offer price.
Gotcha. Huh.
I'm actually dealing with.
Have either of you had an under appraisal recently?
I have one right now. And the bigger scenario of it is like the buyer was limited. She was one of the buyers that said, you know what, I want to get on this great market, these interest rates. She didn't have a huge down payment. And that's another thing that sellers, when they're looking at offers, do have to pay attention to, because the challenge is, does that buyer actually have that extra money to come to the closing with? And a lot of people are stretching right now to either get a even better home or trying to get into the market. So we're still in it, so I can't get into too much detail on what we're doing, but there is a negotiation. The seller's probably going to have to give a little, she's going to have to give a little, and we're going to try to figure it out. But if she really didn't have it, she could walk away, and the seller would have to put it back on the market. So it is a challenge, and actually it's something that we have to discuss with our sellers when we go to list a property. Everybody thinks their property is worth $1 bajillion, and the reality is we have to kind of bring them back down to reality, because if they overprice, even if they get it, we've got to be thoughtful of, is it going to appraise? Because you don't want to go through this whole process and then 2 months in, it doesn't appraise and you've got to put it back on the market. You're going to get less. So it's part of the discussion when we're listing and pricing homes for sellers as well.
That's great advice. And if it's not going to appraise, you have to know that you better get an offer with no appraisal contingency.
Right. Then when you're looking at the offers, and there's another thing for sellers, is it's not just about that price. It's how much are they putting down? What contingencies are they waiving? We're seeing inspection contingencies waived. Same kind of thing. We're seeing them completely waived or partially waived. We'll waive up to nothing more than $1,000 is wrong. We'll just eat it ourselves as a buyer. So we're seeing, people play around with the contingency to make their offer stronger without necessarily going as much up in their price. Because someone could offer $100,000 over. If it's not going to appraise, who cares?
Right.
It's just a problem.
Yeah. Another tip, Phil, is like, let's say, you have somebody that's waiving an appraisal contingency at like $1 million. Generally with cash offers, we ask for proof of funds, but even if it's financing, you can ask a buyer for proof of funds just to make sure that they have that, available. Because sometimes, the 20% they're putting down plus the appraisal waiver, if it doesn't appraise, by a significant margin, like you have to have that cash available. And if they don't, technically they have an out, even though they signed the document stating that they have the funds available. If they don't, then technically they could cancel the contract.
And a lot of people ask about, why this matters, because ultimately the seller doesn't get that money until the thing closes anyway. So why does it matter if I'm putting 5%, 20%, 30%? If someone's putting 30% down and making the same offer as someone only putting 20% down, that 30% may have a little bit more wiggle room if there's an issue with the appraisal, where someone putting 5% down probably doesn't have the financial ability to do that.
Yeah, it's another version of the highest offer is not always the strongest offer.
Terms, absolutely.
And especially in there's a lot of nuances to your offer that can make it better or worse depending, and it's not just about the price you're paying, because the sellers want to know that you're going to get to the closing table.
Exactly.
Less risk. Absolutely.
So shifting gears for a second, let's talk about what's going on around town. It's almost Memorial Day weekend. Natalie, I think you have some events for us.
So Memorial Day, I think, is more Paul. I think there's a festival going on. I don't know what I'm doing.
You want to talk about the St. Anne's Festival?
Yes, the Memorial Day Parade. Excuse me, I'll jump in on that. It's a annual tradition in Hoboken. 137 years going back. It's going to be coming up this weekend, and par for the course with Hoboken.
it's exciting to see these things happening again because so many things got canceled last year.
Yep, people are outside again.
Yeah, they're excited to get outside. So actually going back to what we were talking about, the murals in Jersey City, next week, so once we get through Memorial Day weekend, next weekend, the Jersey City Mural Festival is going on. And so it's in Hamilton Park area and Journal Square. And there's going to be 50 different walls that they're going to have food trucks and music and DJs. And it's going to be happening throughout Jersey City, and it's going to be a really incredible, I think it's going to be awesome. So it's in conjunction with MANA, which is the big arts space up in Journal Square, and the Jersey City Mural Arts Program. So that'll be really cool. And that's the 5th and 6th. So going into June, which we're almost in June now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Nimbus is also, they have the Nimbus dance festival, Nimbus, Arts Festival. And that is starting, Nimbus Arts Festival, and they're doing 5 different dates. So they've already had the first one in different spots in the Powerhouse Arts District. And they are bringing artists from all over the world. These are going to be incredible performances, local artists and beyond. And they're all going to be outdoor. And so there's a lot of great art stuff happening. So if you're not following Nimbus, definitely follow Nimbus. They're a wonderful arts organization down in downtown Jersey City. And, check them out and follow the Jersey City Arts, JerseyCityMuralFestival.com for information about that. Yeah.
Amazing. We will check that out for sure. Well, thank you for bringing us all of the local events. It is, Natalie and Paul, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us this morning. It's Thursday, May 27th. We ask that everyone tune in tonight for the 4th episode of $1 Million Listing. Really, really excited. Please make sure also to tune in daily at 8 a.m. to Morning Mint. If you have any questions about buying, selling, or renting, I will leave Paul and Natalie's contact information in the comments here or in the description. And you can also DM us at Triple Mint Real Estate or walk into our office, 331 Washington Street in Hoboken. Really excited. Thank you both again for joining us this morning, and hope everyone has an amazing Memorial Day weekend.
Thanks, Phil. You too.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
Soon.